Hi. Thank you for giving up the time out of your day to be a part of this interview. I'm just going to ask you a few questions about your experience with physical activity and exercise. So, to start, when you think about being active, what kind of things come to mind for you?
Honestly, I've always associated being active with sports. When I was younger in Brazil, I played volleyball pretty seriously. I was on a competitive youth teams, and we trained a lot. So being active was just a normal part of life for me.
That's really interesting. Did you continue playing volleyball as you got older?
Yeah, I kept playing through my adulthood. It wasn't professionally or anything like that anymore, but I played in recreational leagues and with friends, and I always enjoyed the team aspect and the competitiveness.
So, at what point did your activity level start to change?
Probably within the last 10 years, I had a skiing accident and tore my ACL. That injury made it a lot harder to stay active the way I used to. I had surgery and recovery took a long time, so I had to rethink the type of activities I could do easily or safely.
Yeah. So, how would you describe your current level of physical activity now?
Right now, I go to the gym pretty consistently. I'm mainly focusing on strengthening my legs and building stability because of my knee. I usually go a few times a week, and I do exercise that just help support the muscles around the knee.
For sure. What does a typical day look like for you in terms of your movement or your activity patterns?
So most of my day is actually pretty sedentary. I commute to work and spend a lot of time just sitting during the workday. Because of that, I just try to make sure I go to the gym after work or sometimes on weekends, just to stay active.
All right. So, do you feel like anything makes it difficult to stay active consistently?
Time and energy can definitely be factors between commuting to work and work. Some days I'm pretty tired by the time I get home. I also have to be careful with my knees, so I can't just jump into intense activities like I used to.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, looking ahead, are there any activities that you'd like to get back into or try again from your past?
I'd love to get back into skiing eventually. That's actually one of the reasons I've been working on strengthening my legs at the gym. I want to build just enough strength and confidence in my knees so that skiing feels safe again.
Yeah, that's a great goal. So, if you could improve one thing about your physical activity habits over the next few months, what would it be?
I think continuing to build strength in my legs and staying consistent with my gym routine so I can eventually get back to skiing without worrying just about my knee.
Yeah. So amazing. So, one last question. Thinking about the next few months or even the next year for you, what kind of timeline do you think would feel realistic for reaching that goal of getting back to skiing?
I'd say within the next year, if I keep strengthening my legs and improving stability at the gym over the next coming months, I'd feel much confident trying skiing again, perhaps next winter.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and share your experiences. Your answers will really help us understand your goals and design a program that works for you.
No problem.
Hi there. Thanks for sitting down with me today. For this assignment, I'm trying to learn more about people's experiences with exercise and physical activity throughout their lives. To start off, could you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your background, please?
Sure. I'm 53 years old. I'm originally from Italy. I grew up in a very small oriented town, sports oriented town, environment where being active was a big part of everyday life. These days I work full time, so a lot of my day is spent at work, but I still try to stay active when I can.
Nice. You mentioned sports were a big part of your life growing up. What were the main sports that you were involved in?
Yes, of course. The two biggest ones for me were hockey and soccer. I played both at a pretty competitive level when I was younger. Hockey in particular required a lot of training and commitment. And soccer, well, that was something I played almost every year round.
Wow.
Those sports really shaped my attitude towards exercise and staying fit.
Hmm. What did your training look like during these years where you played competitively?
Well, we practiced several times a week and had games on weekends usually. There was a lot of conditioning involved too. Running, strength training, strength work, skating drills. It kept me in really good shape, and I got used to having a structured routine built around physical activity.
Did you stay involved in sports once you moved past those competitive years?
Yes, of course. For a while, though. When I got older, I still played in recreational leagues with friends and work colleagues. It wasn't as intense as before, but it was still good way to stay active and keep the competitive spirit alive.
For sure. How would you describe your current physical activity level now?
These days, it's a little different. I'm not playing as many organized sports anymore, but I've shifted more towards going to the gym and lifting weights. I try to train a few times a week, focusing more on strength training and overall fitness.
That's really interesting. What made you transition more toward weight training instead of sports?
Well, when you go to doctors as you get older, I realized that strength training was a good way to stay in shape while also reducing the risk of injury. Muscle mass is very important as you get older.
For sure.
Sports like hockey and soccer can be pretty demanding physically, so lifting weights allows me to stay strong and active without putting as much strain on my body as the sports do.
So, on a more personal level, what does a typical day look like for you in terms of movement or activity?
Most of my work day involves sitting at a computer, so there isn't a lot of movement during those hours. Because of that, I try to make time to go to the gym after work, usually right after dinner, or sometimes on weekends so I can stay active and maintain my fitness.
Are there any certain challenges that make it difficult to stay consistent with your exercise routine?
The biggest challenge is probably balancing work and personal responsibilities. Some days I feel tired after work, and it can be pretty easy to skip the gym. But you know what? To be honest, I try to remind myself that staying active is important for my long-term health.
Looking ahead for long-term, what would you say your main goal is when it comes to physical activity?
My main goal is to continue to lift weights, maintain my muscle mass at a reasonable level, and also maintaining my strength as I continue to get older. I think strength training is really important for staying healthy, and I'd like to keep doing it consistently so I can stay mobile, strong, and independent later in life.
For sure. That's a great long-term goal. If you were able to stay consistent with weight training over the next several years, what benefits would you hope to see?
I like to maintain my muscle strength. That's first and foremost. Protect my joints, right? And just feel healthy overall. Being able to stay active and strong as I age is really important to me.
That's very true. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for taking the time to share your experiences today. This information will really help us better understand your activity history and develop recommendations that support your long-term goal of you staying strong and active. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Client 1 is a 52-year-old woman who currently works in a job that involves a daily commute and long periods of sitting. Because much of her day is sedentary, she tries to be intentional about incorporating physical activity outside of work. Earlier in her life, she was very active and played competitive volleyball. She continued playing recreationally during early adulthood and enjoyed the social and competitive aspects of team sports. About 10 years ago, her activity levels changed after she experienced a skiing accident that resulted in a torn ACL. After surgery and recovery, she had to adjust the types of physical activity she participates in and became more cautious with high-impact activities. Currently, she attends a gym a few times per week and focuses primarily on strengthening her legs and improving stability in order to support her knee. Although she is motivated to stay active, she mentioned that commuting, work responsibilities, and fatigue have made it difficult to maintain consistency. Looking ahead, one of her main goals is to return to skiing within 1 year. Client 2 is a 53-year-old man who grew up in a very sports-oriented environment where physical activity was a regular part of daily life. Up to early adulthood, he played hockey and soccer at a competitive level. As he got older, he continued staying active by participating in recreational sports leagues with friends, which allowed him to maintain his competitive interests while still enjoying the social aspect of sport. Currently, his physical activity has shifted towards weight training at the gym, and he now focuses primarily on strength training a few times per week in order to maintain his overall fitness and reduce the risk of injury as he ages. Because he works full-time and spends much of the day sitting, finding time and energy to consistently go to the gym can sometimes be challenging. However, he remains motivated to stay active and values exercise as an important part of maintaining his long-term well-being. Looking ahead, his main goal is to continue strength training consistently so he can maintain muscle strength, protect his joints, and stay mobile and independent as he gets older.
Client 1 SMART Goal. It is a long-term goal, 6 months. The client will complete lower body strength and stability training at the gym 3 times per week for the next 6 months in order to improve knee stability and progress towards safely returning to skiing. The goal is specific because it focuses on lower body strength training and stability training that supports the knee. It is measurable because the client will attend the gym 3 times per week and track the completion of these sessions. The goal is attainable because the client is already attending the gym regularly and has experience with lower body strength training. It is relevant because strengthening the muscles around the knee directly supports her goal of safely returning to skiing. Finally, it is time-bound because the goal will be followed for 6 months and progress will be monitored regularly. Client 2 SMART Goal. Short-term goal, 2 months. The client will increase resistance in his primary strength exercises by approximately 5 to 10% over the next 2 months, while maintaining 3 weekly training sessions to support long-term strength and healthy aging. This goal is specific because it focuses on gaining a certain amount of strength each week with a specific amount of workouts. It is measurable because the client can track the number of sessions completed each week and their progress. The goal is attainable because the client already has experience with weight training. It is relevant because maintaining and improving strength aligns directly with the client's goal of staying strong and healthy as he ages. Finally, it is time-bound because the goal will be followed over a 10-week period to help build more consistency.
Client 1. The first recommendation for Client 1 is to continue following a structured lower body strengthening program at the gym, including squats, leg presses, and some balance-focused exercises. These exercises are relevant because they will help strengthen the muscles around the knee, which can help reduce the risk of injury, allowing her to get back to skiing. The second recommendation is to include low-impact cardiovascular activities like cycling. These forms of exercise will allow the client to improve her cardiovascular fitness while placing less stress on the knee, allowing her to get closer to her goal of skiing. The third recommendation is to keep a simple workout journal to track her progress, exercises, and how the knee feels after every workout. Recording this information regularly can help her monitor improvements in strength and stability over time, while also identifying any movements that cause discomfort, allowing her to stay motivated and on track toward achieving her goal of returning to skiing in 6 months or by the end of the year. Client 2. The first recommendation for Client 2 is to apply progressive overload by gradually increasing the resistance used in his primary strength exercises every week. Gradually increasing the weight used in exercises like squats and bench press will stimulate muscle adaptation and allow the client to safely build strength over time, supporting his goal. The second recommendation for the client is to perform proper warm-up sets before completing the heavier lifts. Starting with a lighter weight before the working sets will activate the muscles and improve movement technique, and this will reduce the risk of injury and allow the client to perform strength exercises more effectively, supporting his goal. The third recommendation is for the client to occasionally train with a workout partner or friend. Exercising with a partner can increase motivation, accountability, and effort during workouts. This added support can help the client stay consistent with his training routine and push himself safely when increasing the resistance during strength exercises. Team strength number 1. One thing our group did well was clear communication and planning. Early in the process, we divide the assignment into specific sections and create a timeline for filming and editing. This improved the overall quality of our work because everyone knew their responsibilities and deadlines way ahead of time. And this improved the experience for each group member because the workload was evenly balanced and distributed for each of us, and no one ever felt overwhelmed. Because for a group assignment, you might have one person doing the majority of the work, right? But we evenly balanced the work, each doing our appropriate role, so that no one felt overwhelmed, improving the experience for each of us. The second team strength was active collaboration when developing the SMART goals and recommendations. We discussed the client's situation together in a study room to ensure the goals were realistic and supported by appropriate recommendations and the scientific literature. This improved the quality of our assignment because we had multiple perspectives to help refine the ideas. We all came together to help refine the ideas. And this improved the experience of each group member because everyone had an input in the final decisions. And everyone had their own unique perspective that they shared, providing some input in the final decisions, giving everybody a say with the final decisions and recommendations, improving the experience of each group member, giving everyone a say.